Some just today, yes, you gon' learn, you gon' learn, you gon' learn. It was just past 1, 2, 3 man with a 4, 5 step to the door like, oh my gosh, just throw that cash in a back bag, run around the back.
Hey everybody, it's Liz from the Lemon Bowl.
Vince from Irie Kitchen.
And welcome to the Irie Lemon podcast.
All right, everybody, here we are. This is episode, I believe, 44. Vince, we're getting close to our 1-year anniversary of the blog. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. 44 episodes. It's a lot.
It is a lot. Pretty good for a pandemic year that we didn't see coming.
Right?
All right, so you guys, as you know, a couple months ago, actually, I guess that was just last month, I hosted a food blogger retreat, my 5th retreat that I've hosted over the last 10 years here in West Michigan. And one of the best parts about hosting retreats is that you have an opportunity to bring together brand partners with food bloggers in the same event. So, and it's in a much more intimate setting than a conference. And in my opinion, you get a lot more value from that. And in doing that, we obviously reach out to a lot of different brands. And one of the brands that we partnered with for the retreat this year is Harry and David. And I feel like everybody knows what Harry and David is, but if you aren't familiar, we'll tell you a bit more. And while they couldn't attend the retreat due to the pandemic, Micaela was gracious enough to spend some time with us today on the podcast to talk a bit about Harry and David, the rich history of the company. And we're going to talk today specifically about the importance and tips for building a strong online community. So without further ado, Micaela, welcome to the podcast, and please introduce yourself.
Hi, so I'm Micaela. I'm the social media manager for Harry and David. I've been with the company for about 4 years now, and kind of grew up around Medford, Oregon. My grandparents' house actually bordered a pear orchard of Harry and David, so a longtime fan and was like really happy to join the company. And yeah, I found you and your retreat through Lauren's blog, and just happy to be here.
Yeah, that's cool.
So what is Harry and David? Because I didn't know what Harry and David was until Liz talked about it. So what is it?
Yeah, so we're a gifting company. That's kind of what we got famous for. We're a famous Royal Riviera pears. So in Southern Oregon, we're actually on like the same latitude as Southern France, where Camise pears grow really, really well. So we actually started in 1914, so pretty old company. And these brothers, Harry and David, really creative naming there from us, inherited these pear orchards in Southern Oregon here from their dad, and realized with their agriculture background that they could grow pears really, really well. And started as a fruit company, basically. After the Great Depression, though, we kind of had to pivot, weren't doing so well as a fruit company, and the brothers started packing fruit up into these gift boxes and shipping them to New York as like a B2B gift. And that's kind of how we got started as like a gifting fruit company. So like when you talk about like fruit baskets, like as a joke, that was kind of us. We started that, the idea of fruit basket back in like the 1930s. So long time we've been around here. So yeah.
So obviously e-commerce is not something new to Harry and David. I know, in the business world, e-commerce, I feel like if you weren't in e-commerce, the pandemic really catapulted you into it. If you were thinking about it, anyone that had a little bit into it before it was probably happy to have that start. But obviously, I feel like you, in my opinion, you certainly own that category in that area. So can you tell us what it's been like? How has this last year, I mean, the pandemic's been going on 6 months or so now. What has that been like? How has that impacted Harry and David, good, bad, ugly?
Sure. So we were already like kind of uniquely positioned for this situation. I mean, we already were an e-com company. We already were working in the gifting space. And, when the pandemic happened, everyone was looking for a way to connect with family, friends, to celebrate events. So we kind of were already situated for that, but we did see this huge increase of people just wanting to connect with friends and family and celebrate events, and didn't want people to be alone, So we saw huge spikes in our everyday occasions business. So that's things like birthday, thank you, sympathy. new babies because people can't be there when a mom's like having their new baby. So all of those kind of everyday celebratory occasions that we have focused on. We're known for Christmas gifts, but these like other everyday celebratory events, people really were into when everything happened. So we also saw a huge spike in comfort foods. So folks sending, chicken pot pie to like family who couldn't go out to eat, because like everyone needed some comfort food in March, I think, myself included.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. And you also have wine now, correct? How long have you had that?
So we started our wine business, I think, in 2016, and we source grapes from around Southern Oregon and Oregon in general, and then make the wine all down here in Southern Oregon as well. And we have lots of like really fun gifts where it gets like paired with like meats and cheeses. So we have like pairing boxes and stuff that you can ship to people, which I think is just super fun. So I've actually been tagged in like a lot of stories of folks who like send wine boxes to everyone in their book club, and they'll have like a wine pairing book club night together. And I'm like, this is how to have fun in a pandemic.
So it's so smart. Vince and I did like a local cheese shop and wine shop. They sent out like a wine and cheese situation, and then they did like a Zoom to explain through it and to pair. And yeah, I feel like and from like my business head, it's been really fun to see people get creative with how they utilize different services, and yours has always been around, which is so great, which I love because you can trust it. It's going to be high quality. They're not just like ironing out the kinks, but it's really cool to see how people are getting creative, to your point about staying connected. And as an extrovert that's super social, I really appreciate that and think it's cool seeing people's creativity.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Even today, I got tagged in a story actually of this. It was a wine tasting group, and they all sent each other like a different one of our grilling and barbecue sauces, which are like a more obscure product of ours. And they all paired it with like their favorite local Chicago wine. And I just like the ideas people have come up with. Like, I would never think to pair our grilling sauces with wine. That's like a real foodie brain thing that I guess I don't have. But really fun to just see, different stuff every day that people are coming up with.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm here for this creativity.
Yeah, and me as well. But, I'm curious. So, 100 years in, right? E-commerce brand. You're shipping fruit baskets or whatever to everybody. Like, how do you guys connect with your community, and who do you define as your community?
Yeah. So we sort of have this like interesting situation as a gifting company. So like your target audience as marketers are the people who are buying your gift, right? But you also want to appeal to the people who are receiving your gift. So like, yeah, maybe grandma is the one buying you a fruit basket, but like, my grandma sent me care packages when I was in college, right? From Harry and David. So like you also have to appeal to the person who's getting the gift and like what that experience looks like. So having like an assortment of items that appeal to the gift giver and also to the recipient. And so the way I think about it, at least as the person in social media, is I tend to be, because our customer tends to be a little bit older, when I'm on, Instagram or TikTok or whatever, like I'm speaking more so to the recipient who might be like a little bit younger or new to the brand. And so I'm trying to build a community with them. So like a lot of what we see is someone will be like, oh, my mom sent me this like really fancy gift box of peaches, like how weird. And they tag us in Instagram stories, but I want to connect with them like, hey, they're good peaches, aren't they? Like, aren't you loving them? So it's about responding to each and every one of those messages that come in. Like a huge part of my day is going through Instagram DMs, going through tagged photos, and like really engaging and saying like, hey, happy birthday, like glad you got this gift. And like building the community at that step, since it might be their first contact point with us, really connecting with them and what that experience was like.
Yeah. I was just listening to a podcast about a woman that grew a company, and she was writing her newsletters. She realized everyone was writing back about, oh, I'm getting this for my daughter, I'm getting this for her daughter. So she realized she had to appeal both to the mom that was buying the products, but the daughter was actually the one using the products. And it's very interesting from a business standpoint when you are marketing to people and building your community, that you're going to have different subsets within that community. But to your point, all are very important.
Oh, yeah.
So do you have an online community beyond social media? For example, do you have Facebook groups, or do you have like on your website? What are other areas that you've built up an online community?
Yeah. So our email list is obviously a huge place where we speak to our customers. Like as an e-com business, that just kind of makes sense, right? So that's kind of a huge place where like most of our fans are connecting with us. So a lot of what I do on social is kind of mimicking the story that's being told in email. And then, we're on several different social media platforms. And then we also work with influencers a lot, right? So like as a large established brand, a lot of the times you're not going to necessarily reach out to us for tips and stuff like that. Like we have a blog and we have recipe pages, and we're connecting there with some of our really, really loyal fans. But when we're working with influencers and bloggers like yourself, we're kind of leveraging their communities and the groups that they've sort of cultivated and spent a lot of time around, to kind of reach people in those different stages and kind of talk to them there. So I kind of like to go into these other little bubbles that people have created, and kind of chat in those spaces.
That's smart. And I think just in general, the reason blogs are so influential is that sometimes it is more trustworthy when it's like a friend you follow on social media, to your point, as opposed to on a big website when it can see a bit more commercialized, or and I think that that's smart that you do that, because I think, like, I know even just from your work with Lauren, I've watched her talk about you consistently for years, and I think that certainly has, it's only like added to my other already thoughts I had about Harry and David. It just kind of adds to it and helps build that, because I know and trust Lauren. So if she's talking about it, it definitely, I think it does hit differently than perhaps reading your website, which is maybe it might be too polished coming out or just too perfect. Right.
Well, I'm on the website right now. And
What?
this shit is cool. Like, I'm on your website right now, Harry and David website. So everyone listening, harryanddavid.com. You guys fucking selling flowers and plants? What?
Yeah.
Like,
About everything.
like this is like, someone like who always forgets people's birthdays, forgets things like that. Like, if I could just hop on and be like, ooh, I know Liz likes wine, cool. I know she likes cheese, cool. Like,
Right.
boom. And like, guys, like, if you're listening to this, please hop on. Like, it's also really designed really well, which I really care about. Like, for a brand, like, you guys don't mail anything in. You guys really do think about how the customer is like receiving the product, right? And I think that's a good important thing when building a community, right? Because someone gets something that's amazing, you're like, oh wow, where'd you get this from, Harry and David? Like they actually try to give you. It's not like a freezer box of like, right? It's like a nice package, which I think is really cool.
And like we actually got
lobster.
Yeah, dude, so much good food. Like
What?
mac and cheese that you send to someone. Like I
Smart.
joke that like you gain like the freshman 15 when you start working at Harry and David. Like it's dangerous.
Worth it though.
Right.
Yeah, the charcuterie boards that we were building were so fun, and that was just like a fun, to your point, activity to do during quarantine. And events are canceled, trips are canceled, concerts are canceled. Create an event, create an occasion, create an opportunity to connect with people, and I think that's, I mean, food. What better way to connect?
Right.
Food.
Yeah. And the way I think about it too is like when you're an adult, I've learned really quickly, you don't get a lot of fun mail anymore. You get bills and you get like really boring stuff. And so to get something in the mail that's just like fun and exciting is just super awesome. So like we saw a huge spike in people just sending gifts to their friend with like just because messages, like, hey, I know you're having a rough time. Like, here's something just because I'm thinking about you. And it's just like really fun to get something on your door that's like tasty and fun and not a downer in your.
I mean, Vince, the Irie Lemon podcast 1-year anniversary is coming up. I mean,
if you want, I can order it right now.
That's so cool. It's so smart, and I think, to your point, it's also one of those. I think if there's anything that's happened with the last year, is it almost makes you work a little bit harder to foster relationships, connections, your community, even just to your point, like sending it to your clients and your business colleagues, like not just friends. You have to be a little bit more thoughtful about it. And I think a lot of that's going to stick with us even once, everything does open up. Would you kind of agree with that?
I'd agree. Yeah. And we've seen, so we have a huge business to business division since that's kind of how we got started. And they see so many great stories right now of businesses that are, ordering these gifts in bulk to send to their employees to say thank you. Maybe their employees are frontline workers. Um, we've even had clients that, are sending gifts to like nurses in their community or people working on COVID vaccines that are getting thank you gifts and stuff.
Cool.
It's really, really heartwarming. And I think that feeling of, thankfulness and connection is something that's going to stick. And it's really why I like working for this company, is to see all of this like really great connection. And I think it's kind of taught me to apply that into my everyday life a little bit more too, right? So like sending my friend like a just because card or Venmoing them $5 for coffee, like that kind of feeling of gratitude and connection when so many people are like just struggling this year, honestly, and like how to apply that in just little tiny ways. I've kind of seen blossom with, how crazy this year has been.
Yeah, I think that's really smart.
So I have a question. So for entrepreneurs listening to this who have online brands, what are some things you've been doing the last 4 years, or some tips and tricks for them to foster and build a community? And
Yeah.
things to keep in mind.
So my big thing, I mentioned influencers earlier, and it doesn't even have to be like paying someone to promote your product, right? But I love just working with other groups that maybe have a different audience than you have, and leveraging something there. So even if it's like, a collaborative post where you're featuring their product and they're featuring yours, just kind of like a mutual benefit for each other. Because if you're only speaking to your audience all the time, like that's a small group of people, and maybe they're really loyal to you. But you kind of, if you want to grow your audience and grow your community, it's taking advantage of these kind of micro groups that other people have been fostering. And so that's kind of the biggest thing that I like to focus our attention into. So for us, that does mean working with influencers, maybe like just surprising people with product, So sometimes like, even if I don't have a blog post lined up with some of our bloggers, I'll be like, hey guys, it's peach season. Like, here's some peaches, just to like have folks chat about you and, to have a conversation. And Liz, you might have picked up on this already, but like, I love when Lauren had her baby, I sent her like here's a new baby gift. It's the connection is more than just the business side, right? And it's fostering a relationship with those partners that you've spent so much time cultivating from a business side, but like who are they as people too? And fostering that relationship there, like in the human connection side, I think ends up having kind of ripple effects throughout the business side as well. So, working with partners long term and really connecting with folks.
I think that's so true. Liz and I talk about this a lot. It's like always the relationship, right? The work can get done by anybody else, right? Like at the end of the day, like cheese and wine can be made and be sent, right? Now, obviously, you guys do a great job. I'm not dissing your product, but I'm just saying that I think a lot of people do miss that, right? Like unless your product is completely unique and never been developed before, like you're gonna have competitors. Like the way you win is by actually developing a friendship, by actually developing a relationship, because people want to work with people who they know.
Mm-hmm.
To connect with, and it's that simple. And I even think with the brand side of it too, it's like you got to kind of turn your brand into a person in a weird way, so that like people can identify themselves with that brand. And I think you guys are doing an amazing job. It's like kind of scanned real quick on your Instagram or on your website. Like, okay, you guys got it figured out at least, right? Because some people like don't have it. Well, I'm not selling. I'm like, well, it's very like buy anything from there,
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting. So,
and to your point, it's funny because it's, as we say it, it's not rocket science, of course, but I think the difference is that you do it consistently over a long period of time, like anything that's successful. And I think it's smart that, to your point, and I know all of my long-term partners, I use their products even on the months I'm not doing a blog post for them, or I'm certain that Lauren has sent Harry and David gifts to people even when it's not part of a blog post. And I think that is, I know as an influencer we're pretty conscious about the partnerships we embark on, and it only benefits all of us if it's a product that we're talking about consistently over a long period of time, not just the months we're being paid in particular. And I think, to your point, it's also so smart because, like you said, your own audience you're going to tap them out if that's the only audience you're talking to all the time. Especially, I know this year with the pandemic, they say that when businesses have, crazy situations happen like this year, the first people you go to is your own audience. But, March, April, come June, July, they're going to get kind of like burnt out. Like they've probably already supported you. They've probably already, maybe you had a GoFundMe if you were a restaurant, or maybe you had this, or maybe you did this. After a while, your own audience, they can only do so much for you at any time. So the best way to really grow and to I guess be safe during times of uncertainty is to really keep expanding those audiences. And I think obviously it makes perfect sense that you align with influencers like Lauren, who can kind of open you up to another community. So I guess my question for you from that is, what are some of the best examples you've seen in terms of influencers that you've partnered with, maybe in a unique way? Or what are some of the most, you see a lot of the same things that influencers do. Are there any certain, unique or different things you've done perhaps over the last 6 months with influencers, and why was it so beneficial for you?
Yeah. So I love events. Like I love, and they don't have to be in person. They can be virtual.
Right.
But anytime you have, a lot of the times a sponsored post looks like, a static photo with a product placement that's kind of one thing and you move on. But when you have something like an event or even an Instagram story where someone's talking to the camera, or you like see the face behind a product or behind a brand, that's when I really feel like something different is happening. Because we've all been there. We scroll through our feeds, we see a sponsored post, kind of shrug it off and move on. But I think when you actually have someone like in your face talking to you, like, this is why I love this product so much, or this is, why I share this with everyone I know. It's to kind of differ the feed a little bit, I guess. And that always works best in my
Yeah, I agree with that. Last year, well, I was going to say I did an event series last year where I was incorporating my clients' products with on like a cocktail party. And it was just fun, to your point, to do something that kind of stands out in the Instagram feed, because a lot of times it is the same, perfect food photo. But when they see like a DJ or, an actual like people dancing and then eating the food, it just kind of it just stands out, which I think is important, to your point about just kind of, I guess we're all just fighting for everyone's attention.
Yeah, definitely. And even, we have some partners where like, instead of just an Instagram story that's like swipe up to see this recipe, it's them talking about like, here's what I made, here's some steps behind the scenes. Like, it's providing a useful benefit too. And I think that's a big takeaway. Like when you see like a super glam styled food photo, like how many of us are actually always going to take that into our kitchen and replicate it exactly, right? Like,
100%.
so sometimes it's nice to have something that's easy, it's broken down, it looks accessible, and then you're actually providing a benefit to your audience when they're following you, instead of just saying like, look how pretty my food photography is. And I think that's a big takeaway for bloggers and for normal people even.
Since you were saying something, I cut you off.
No, I'm just thinking, like, so for us normal people who aren't blogging,
Yeah.
who may like, so question, I know like Michigan has weird like liquor laws. Can I get that wine you're talking about?
Yeah. So we have a few states that we can't ship wine to. So like if you're in Georgia, I'm really sorry. But yeah, in Michigan, I can ship you wine.
Okay, I want to try some of that. That sounds
Yeah.
pretty.
I'll get you some wine, Vince.
I've been Liz has put me on to wine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely whatever was available. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm like, you know what? I can have more refined taste. I can drink, a glass of wine here and there. And now I have to finish like my nights with half a bottle or something like that.
Red wine, I could get you some Pinot. Oregon's really known for our Pinot Noir.
Please. I'm trying to like learn the different things. And funny story, at the retreat, they're like, "Oh, what does this pair great with?" And I'm like, you know what? And luckily, I had George there, who's sommelier. He saved me. But like, yeah, I want to learn more about like wine and how to like pair them and get into it. Because I feel like it is very important, especially when it does work. You can actually like taste the difference, or like it makes your meal enjoyable. So that's kind of cool that it's not just like talk, right? At first I thought it was just all talk, like, oh yeah, cool. but then you actually able to like bite into something with a nice wine. So I kind of like that. It's not really a question, but
I
She's
feel like
thinking about
food. I feel like Jamaican food, you always think first of beer, but I really do think a lot of wines would pair well with it. So I'm happy I got you kind of thinking.
yeah. Do you guys sell jerk chicken on here, David?
We have we have a teriyaki grilling sauce, like a jerk chicken sauce, actually, that we sell.
Oh, really?
It's actually pretty good. Yeah, a little spicy.
I want to try it. A little spicy.
Like care package.
Yeah, I need a little care package, please and thank you.
Okay, so I have another question for you about community. What are some maybe don'ts about building a strong community? Maybe like your top 3 don'ts, maybe for someone that is, again, it doesn't need to be a blogger. Let's say it's just somebody that is, we're all kind of isolated right now. So I know a lot of people are trying to build community and foster connection online. So or they might be launching their own side hustle that's not related to blogging or anything else. I think a lot of us do rely on social media for connection. Are there any don'ts that maybe things that have happened to you or maybe mistakes you've learned over the last 4 years? Anything you can recommend not doing?
Yeah, I guess. Don'ts are always harder for me than do's. Is that anyone else?
Oh, yeah.
I don't like being negative, I think. So don't make me
If you
feel.
want to think of do's instead, you certainly can.
No, but I would say like this is so overdone, but like the authenticity piece, right? So like you don't want to fake it. You don't want to push it. Like we're not out here trying to be someone we're not. Like how I was saying, like I'm a person behind a brand account and I'm still trying to make these connections with our partners all the time. Like you can be that way. Like you don't have to be on all the time. You don't have to be a business all the time. Like you can be a human behind a business. And I think people will see that really quickly. Like a lot of our Instagram captions are just like the funny thing that came to my head as I'm like walking out on Friday. Like it doesn't have to be overthought. Like it doesn't have to be hard, I guess.
Yeah.
And I
don't be afraid to be a human being.
Yeah, I think that's the big takeaway. Like, yes, you're a brand and you want to be consistent, but you're also a person, and your audience will see that.
Yeah, that's true, and that's definitely something I talk about that with. I do my own Instagram, but I have Pinterest and Facebook and Twitter, and I talk a lot about my tone with my social media assistant, and I think it's so hard for people to realize that you can kind of dial it back in terms of it being so polished and perfect. And, I think just in general, anyone trying to be professional, it can just be too polished. And I'm always just like trying to remind her she can dial it back. Like, just be real. Like, this is not,
Yeah,
not
like if you want your feed to be really polished, we love getting into stories or reels now and doing something that's really fun, right?
Yeah.
So you have that opportunity if you want to be like a very polished brand presence on your feed, like that's great. We love getting into stories and taking you into the orchards behind the scenes, or when we could, interviewing people like in the bakery and showing like kind of the different human side. And I think that can apply to a lot of different things, that you can use those different tools that social has available to you to show kind of a different side of your business and yourself. Yeah.
It's true. It's like that meme that was like Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, or whatever.
So are you primarily just on Instagram, or you do all social media for the brand?
We're on most platforms, yeah. So we actually, Facebook is our biggest platform. Just
He'll come back.
Okay.
He might have accidentally got out. He'll come back in, but you can keep answering.
So yeah, Facebook is our biggest platform, just because it's been around the longest, and that's kind of what our audience is into. And then Instagram is great because that's where we're doing most of our partnership work. But we're also actually Pinterest is a really big platform for us because it's kind of a great place to get ideas, and gift ideas kind of make sense there. As well as Twitter, and we just started TikTok last week.
I was gonna say, okay, so how is your TikTok? How's TikTok going, and what's your current TikTok strategy?
Yeah, so again, only been on TikTok for a week. We've only got like 3 videos.
I'll follow you. I'm on there too.
By the time this goes live, maybe we'll have like 10. But We're using kind of a mixture of sort of behind the scenes content of our business, kind of glam, fun video shots of product, and then recipes, because we have so many recipe videos. We're hoping to do pretty well as well.
Yeah, TikTok, I've been playing around with it in terms of, like sometimes I'll do a video of my son dancing to hip hop or a recipe, all different things. But to your point, I love that really nothing's that off limits with TikTok, which is kind of what's so fun about it. And obviously the audience does skew younger, because I will say my Facebook crowd, which is a bit older, they're definitely like, if I touch my hair while I'm cooking, they freak out. And again, and that's just me like cooking casually with my kids. Like, it's not like a polished type of situation, but I feel like in TikTok, no one's going to yell at me for touching my hair.
Yeah, all of them.
Now, are you doing reels also?
Yeah, we are. We're getting started there too.
And then do you do LinkedIn?
So we do LinkedIn. That's not my team. Our HR team uses LinkedIn for a lot of hiring purposes. Right. But yes, we're on LinkedIn too. We're everywhere.
There's so many. I saw you posted your beef stew on LinkedIn the other day, Vince. I was like, yes, this is what I want to see on LinkedIn. Like,
yeah, I was like, I don't know the rules, but I'm gonna be posting.
I love it. Recipes on LinkedIn. Make that a trend for 2020.
Though, I mean,
like all these other. Go ahead.
We all have to eat,
right? And I feel like I'm just trying to find like my edge. I'm like, God damn it! Like everyone's so cool on Instagram. Like how can I?
People on LinkedIn. I'll tell you that.
All right, I'm gonna start posting chicken sandwiches on LinkedIn. Here we go.
Literally, though.
I prefaced it. I was like, I don't care if this is not the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like, posting food. Twitter's been interesting too. Like, I like Twitter a lot because like Twitter fits more of like my tone, my natural tone.
Mm-hmm.
Like where I can just like say shit. I literally posted our pop-up. I'm like, you don't come, you're a hater. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like, and it works for me. Like Instagram, I feel like I have to be a little bit more like creative and a little bit more like polished because I do have like an older base. And then Facebook, I'm like, Liz, help me please. Like, I don't know.
Literally though. But I think honestly the secret, and Micaela, you can tell me if you agree, I think just in general for anyone that might be listening that's trying to just grow an audience and is really just starting to cultivate, I know for me over the last 10 years, it's just about consistency, and it can be overwhelming with so many different platforms, and every day there's literally something new. So, I think just, if you don't have any assistance or any help, pick and choose a couple to start with and just be consistent. I would really encourage people to pick one or two platforms and really be consistent versus like 1 month going hard on TikTok and then you're not on it for 9 months. And then the next month you're suddenly on Facebook, but then you peace out and go to Pinterest. Pick a couple, be consistent, make a schedule, even if it's once a week to start and then twice a week. That's really how, because I'm aware that not everybody has a team or an assistant or different, best friends that'll do it for free like Vince. Not everyone has that hookup. So you got to kind of just don't beat yourself up if you're not doing all the platforms because it's a lot. And guess what? Tomorrow there could be something else.
Yeah, totally agree. I live by our content calendar. That's kind of where I spend my whole entire day, just making sure that everything's like scheduled and aligned and planned out, so that you can kind of like regain a little bit of control and sanity around all of the different platforms.
Do you use any scheduling tools or?
We do, yeah.
Would you mind sharing some of the tools that you use?
So we actually use Sprinkler. It's also like a customer management tool. So because we have a lot of customer service stuff as well, it's kind of integrated there. But we've worked with Hootsuite before and Salesforce's systems. I've kind of used all of them. And I think on Instagram, I love using like preview or like feed scheduling tools. So you can kind of like plan out what your feed's going to look like for the future and kind of visually see all of it. Yeah, lots of tools.
Yeah, that's cool. And we can link to some of these guys listening in the show notes. I know a lot of people I know use Latergram for Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I use Tailwind for Pinterest, which is great. And then I do just use the Facebook scheduler itself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can link to some of these if you guys are looking, because automation is certainly really helpful.
Oh yeah.
You could literally be on your phone all day, especially many of our listeners are not paid by the hour. A lot of us are entrepreneurs and, you could literally do that all day, every day. And, your friends and family aren't going to think you're working when you're on Instagram all the time. I know for. So if you're like on Tailwind, it looks like you're actually working.
Yeah.
My kids are like, "What are you doing?" It's like it's hard for them to understand that it is work because it's also there's times you're not on it for work. So yeah, if you're on Tailwind, you feel better about it.
I've given up trying to explain to my parents what I do for a living. So I feel like, being on a more authentic platform rather than scrolling on Instagram at dinner probably would help.
Exactly. What are their favorite Harry and David products, and what are yours?
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, like it's boring, but the pears are probably my favorite. They're just
reason.
so good. Like everyone I know, they're like, I hate pears, and then you eat this pear, and you're like, your whole perspective changes. It's mind-boggling. And
Every
then
time you say pears, sorry for interrupting. Do you know who Rick Ross is?
yes, we sent Rick Ross pears after that.
I was going to say that's gonna be hilarious because that meme is just funny. Keep going.
No,
I have to look that meme up. I don't know it. I love Rick Ross though.
It says pears. He's like, he loves pears.
Really?
Yeah.
So did he try your pears and did he love them?
Yeah, he like loves pears, but he like did like an interview and he just like said it. He said it like funny. It was hilarious.
That's hilarious. And then was that your favorite or your parents' favorite?
That's mine. I also really love our peppermint bark at Christmas, just because it like reminds me of Christmas like so much. And then my father-in-law's favorite actually are we have those filled peanut butter pretzels.
Oh yeah, you sell those? Oh.
So we have those, but they're dipped in dark chocolate, and like those will change your life.
Okay. I love dark chocolate pretzels because of salt and peanut butter. I'm such like a crunchy, salty chocolate person.
Everything in one snack.
Well, Vince, I hope you're taking notes because I think September or so we'll be hitting the 1 year of the podcast. And,
I got you. I got
order now.
Virtual snack sessions I was talking about.
We're gonna talk and we're gonna make sure we got some stuff figured out.
Okay, so in wrapping things up, Micaela, where can everybody learn more about Harry and David? Because you guys, there's a lot of opportunities coming up. I've already thought of 12 things I want to do. I mean, as we've talked about, despite a pandemic, there's still birthdays, there's still anniversaries, there's still holidays. And even in times like now when you can't be with the people that you love, or you're just thinking of a friend. I mean, I was just thinking my friend just got promoted and starts a new job next week. I would love to send her something and I can't be there with her, and a lot of times you can't go out with your friend for a drink right now to celebrate like you would in the past. harryanddavid.com is a great place to find ways to tell someone you're thinking about them, tell them you miss them, that you're thinking about them, you're happy for them. Whatever the emotion is, Harry and David can express it through food and wine, which
who doesn't want to express things through food?
I mean, better than words, right, Vince? Imagine having to use words to express emotion. I would rather just like send some food to people.
Same, unless there's some like cakes, a steak, some wine, maybe.
Literally.
Not having to say I care about you, or because I'm an alpha male. I'm not gonna say that. I'm saying you're present though, so that you know and I know.
You know what it means.
Oh, it's too funny. Okay, where can everybody find Harry and David online?
Yeah, so harryanddavid.com. And then we're on Instagram at Harry and David is our handle on all social media platforms. So I think you should check it out.
And if we wanted to get your newsletter, I assume if we go on your website for a couple of minutes, there'll be a pop-up that might appear or something like that.
Make it nice and easy for you to sign up for emails.
Yeah, okay, perfect. I'm all about it. Any closing thoughts, Vince?
No, I'm excited though. I'm excited to try that teriyaki jerk thing, and I'm excited to try this wine. I'm excited to get you a gift for our 1 year, Liz.
There we go. Mission accomplished.
That's public now. Everyone heard about it. Everyone heard that. I'm going to do it.
Guys, I'll report back in a couple of weeks if you remembered. Well, Micaela, thank you so much, first of all, for being part of the retreat. It was wonderful. Hopefully next year, we're going to hopefully do it again and you can attend in person.
Yeah.
And thank you for just spending some time today. I'm such a longtime fan of Harry and David, and I know a lot of our listeners are just perhaps hearing about it for the first time, and I'm just excited to kind of spread that joy and also help people really solve a problem as we head into the busy gifting time of the year. So thank you for all of your time and your wisdom today. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys, so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Learn some jazz today. Yes, you gon' learn, you gon' learn, you gon' learn. It was just past 1, 2, 3 man with a 4, 5 step to the door like, oh my gosh, just throw that cash in a back bag.